If you made an extra $10,000 a month, how much of an impact would that have in your life? I know most people would probably just go buy a new car, buy a new house, or probably go on a shopping spree. And that is the reason why 36% of high-income earners, people who make over $100,000, are still living paycheck to paycheck and never really get out of the rat race. I know when I first started to make an extra $10,000 a month, I became a victim of lifestyle inflation. I started splurging on myself like no other. In the last recent years, I was able to make the most amount of money I have ever made in my whole entire life. And I'm not saying this because I want to show off. I just want people to not make the same mistakes that I made. Earlier this year, I was actually going over my expenses for what I spent last year, and I spent about $30,000 in just food alone, which is crazy because it was about 25% of what I made. If you really think about it, that's how much most people make in a year. And in reality, I could have used that money to really save and invest into another venture instead. Hi guys, welcome back to my journey to becoming a millionaire. My name is Chris Mo. If you don't know me, I do $1 to $2 million in construction sales, got a 6-figure income, some passive investments, and I have nothing to sell you. You see, I make these videos so I can document my life to becoming a millionaire, so I can help my grandchildren out so they can know who I am. And hopefully this can inspire others to start their own journey as well. In today's video, I'm going to be explaining why I continue to constantly live like a broke college student while earning a 6-figure income. So make sure to stay to the end of the video because I will be breaking down my expenses so you can see how I save in order to make better investments. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's go back in time for a little bit. About 7 to 8 years ago, I was working 3 jobs when I was just starting out as a freshman in college. The reason I had to work so much was because I had just left my mom's house and I had left on bad terms, so she wasn't going to be able to help me financially. So I had to figure it out. At one point in my life, when I was working those 3 jobs, Monday through Friday, I was working as a pizza delivery guy. Friday nights, I was actually working as a concierge in a hotel in downtown LA, and the weekends, I was actually a soccer referee. Fridays actually sucked for me at one point because I would go to class in the morning, I would work as a pizza delivery guy throughout the day, and then head over to my downtown LA job at 12 midnight, work the night shift, and ultimately not even sleep and go directly into being a soccer referee. And there were some times where I would even go out to party on Saturdays. So I would not sleep on Friday. Fridays sucked for me. But around that time, I was making decent money. I mean, I had to. I was making about $1,500 a month. And I'll go ahead and put a screenshot here so you can actually see this. Anyways, it was enough to cover my expenses at that point. I mean, I was a college student, so I didn't have much expenses. But this is the time where I really learned how to budget myself. Meaning every dollar mattered. Meaning I had to make the best with what I had. Fast forward 3 years later, I got a job at T-Mobile as a sales rep. I remember going into that job like it was just yesterday. I remember going into the first day of training and the sales director was there just selling us the dream, telling us that this job was going to take us to the next level. He even taught us how we could have bought our dream car through that job. And if you ever had a sales job, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Either way, I was sold. The hourly alone was $17 an hour. So that was more than all the 3 other jobs combined if I did full-time. And on top of that, I was gonna get commissions. That was the icing on the cake. So it was a no-brainer for me to go ahead and just do full T-Mobile. First 6 months into it, I dove right into it and I learned how to sell. I became one of the top salesmen at T-Mobile and it brought my income from $1,500 a month to nearly double. I was bringing in anywhere from $3,000 to $4,500 a month on just my hourly and commissions alone. I thought I was rich. Considering I was living like a broke college student, no kids, not much expenses, money was abundant to me at that time. I fell a victim of lifestyle inflation. I bought a luxury car, actually I bought 2 luxury cars. My first luxury car was an Infiniti G35, and like most kids at that age, I fell in love with cars, you know? I wanted to build that car up, buying carbon parts, engine parts, wheel parts, pretty much the whole entire shebang. Ultimately, something happened with that and it just became an expense, so I had to buy another car, bought a BMW, and that something happened to that car and that became a whole entire other expense. Ultimately, A lot of stuff happened during that time and it wiped a lot of my money. Nonetheless, as I earned more money, I was also spending more. Meaning how much more I was making was not really leaving me with enough to save. Oh boy, what I would wish to tell myself what I know now and just go back in time and save myself, because I would be so much farther ahead if I didn't spend the money that I spent. Honestly, a lot of times I would spend money on little things that I can't even remember now. But it's okay, because hopefully someone can learn from my mistakes and this isn't gonna happen to someone else. Now let's fast forward a little bit more, just 2 years later. This is where I got into the industry that I'm at now. I got good at sales and I nearly doubled my income from that income, which was bringing me about $10,000 a month. And guess what? I fell a victim of lifestyle inflation again, but kinda this time, because I learned my lessons from last time. I learned that if I wanted to live an expensive lifestyle, I needed to have money coming in. Being financially lean is something that I learned when I was studying companies. You see, most companies go under because they have too much expenses because of overhead, which is why it's really important to make sure to keep your expenses low and your income high so you can go ahead and continue to produce. So as long as you can cover your bills, everything else is just extra. If we manage to control the two variables, income and debt, we can manipulate our success. Let me explain. In life, there are things that we have to pay in order to survive. What are those? Rent, food, clothes on our backs, water, and electricity. These are the essentials. Look, it fits in one hand. I call these the essentials because these are the only things we need to survive. And by survive, I mean to live another day. But I know. We live in the modern day, so there's gonna be some people who say there's more essentials than just that. Okay, cool. A car, gas for that car, a cell phone service bill, and Wi-Fi. These are the other 5 essentials. Look at that, fits in another hand. It looks like we have a handful. Ultimately, these are the only essentials we need in the modern day to live and survive a decent, okay life. Everything else is extra. Let me say that again. Everything else is extra. Netflix, extra. Starbucks, extra. More than 3 pairs of shoes, extra. Does that make sense? Cool. So let's put some numbers to that, and let's use real life numbers, and I'm gonna be using my personal numbers. That way you can actually get a better look at this. Let's go back in time to my sophomore year so you can see my expenses at that time, and I have them all written down, so bear with me. I'll put them up on the screen. Rent at that time was about $500 a month. Electricity was about another 100, give or take. I was sharing a 2-bedroom with like 3 other roommates. Water was included since I live in apartments. Food was about $400. Clothes, I spent maybe about $50 a month. I had clothes when I had originally left. Cell phone was about $30 a month. Service on that cell phone was about $40 because I was on a family plan. Car at that time, I had bought cash, financial aid, thank you. Insurance was about $120 for that car. Gas was $100 a month, and if you live in California, yeah, gas used to be cheaper. So Wi-Fi, I probably spent about $25 a month, which brings me to a grand total of about $1,300. So I had a little left over if I didn't go out, which at those times I really wasn't going to fancy dinners, events, things like that. I was just enjoying the moment and living with what I can. Ultimately, this was the college budget lifestyle. This is what I had to make sure lasted me. This was all I needed to just survive. Once I got my T-Mobile job, everything practically stayed the same, except rent went up like maybe $100. Food was another $300. But the extras, this is where it really got me. This is where my splurging went crazy. I would spend anywhere from $200 to $700 extra on little things, dumb things, things that I can't even remember anymore, things that don't even matter anymore. And I'll bring up a picture here so you can actually see my statements, and you can see that in this month I actually only was able to save $266 because of the amount of like spending I was doing. But if you really take a close look at the numbers, living like a broke college student isn't that hard. Even if I maintained a job like T-Mobile where I was bringing in an extra $3,000 to $4,000 a month, it actually shouldn't have been that hard to save an extra $500 a month to invest. But I wasn't doing that. I was just spending it all. Which is why when I transitioned into my big boy career, I was still able to maneuver my expenses and manipulate them in a way where I was still living like a broke college student. Of course, things needed to be a little bit different, but the patterns stayed the same, where I kept the same 10 modern essential expenses. And we'll break that down now. My rent is now $950. I share a 2-bedroom with 1 roommate. My electricity is about $100, give or take. Water is included since we live in apartments. Food is $400 a month, so I spend about $100 a week on food. Cell phone's $30 a month. Service for that cell phone is $40 because I'm on a family plan. And car payment is $260. So now I have a car payment, and I also have a second car, which is my mom's car, which I technically pay for, is $400 a month. And car insurance for both of those cars about $250. Gas altogether, I travel now for work, so I spend about $400 a month on gas, and Wi-Fi is about $50 a month because I like the fast Wi-Fi. Grand total in today's expenses is about $2,880, give or take, based on if I go out or if I spend money, which I often do. But here's the thing. I tend to say that I need at least $3,000 to survive, to cover my expenses, which I know for a lot of people, this may sound like a lot, right? But when you look at the fact that I make over $10,000 a month, that is about 30% of my whole entire income. Meaning that I save about 70% of my money. And that's not always the case because, like I said, I spend money and I do love going out. So it can give or take. But I've set myself up to save the majority of it. Altogether, I am still living like a broke college student, but at a much higher level. By doing this, I allow myself to save a lot more and invest into other ventures like buying my ATM business last year. Living like a broke college student is what I have to do for the next 5 years to continue and save and invest in order to get what I want. It's just a matter of time before I get to that level. Again, I'm still young and I'm way ahead of the curve. It's just a matter of playing my cards right. So hopefully this video helped bring some value into your life. This is practically the formula that I've been using over the last couple of years to get me to where I am today. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more of me, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and if there's anything that you want me to go ahead and break down, go ahead and comment below and I'll go ahead and make a video of it. But for now, see you guys next time.